these few words, Mr. Speaker, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It is now the turn of Honorable Boama.
Mr. Speaker, I had the opportunity to sit at the veto, so I'm yielding to Honorable Kwabena Bonkroma. He is not on the list.
Kojo is on.
So,
in the list.
Honorable Member for Takoradi, please.
Very well. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the motion moved on the nominations of the President. Mr. Speaker, I believe that the first person we are interested in is Honorable Bahato Forson, who is also a schoolmate, even though he was my junior. He's been a very good friend whilst we both came to Parliament. And I believe that the nomination is in the right direction. More so, when he has been a member of the Finance Committee for a very long time and been a part of the NDC campaign. Mr. Speaker, if you take a lot of the pronouncements and the campaign promises made by the NDC, naturally, finance was a major part of it. It is therefore unfortunate when nominees like my friend Ato and others are asked direct questions on the promises, they tend to tell you that wait for them to show us their next budget. They tell us, wait, let's go to the ministry before we get the full view of the data. So the question I ask myself is that not downgrading our politics? That kind of attitude, is that not downgrading our politics? I believe that it's time that we politicians start making promises that we are sure about the data and how effectively we are going to implement it for the benefit of Ghanaians. Mr. Speaker, another area Honorable Ato Forson had made some suggestions which I believe are good and we need to encourage is the use of the taxes or some part of the taxes paid by the informal sector being used as pensions for themselves. I believe that is one area he has mentioned, and I implore him that as he gets the nod, you make sure that the implementation of these ideas are effected immediately so that we can formalize the informal sector. Mr. Speaker, the other area he had also mentioned had to do with the issue of value for money, the issues of investor confidence, issues of employment and entrepreneurship in particular. Mr. Speaker, on the issue of value for money, I believe that is one area we need to quickly look at in a very big way, especially the processes at the Ministry of Finance. In situations where loans are approved in Parliament, and sometimes it takes over 1 year before projects are implemented, goes a long way to affect the real value we deliver or get out of these projects. Mr. Speaker, we've had challenges in this country where we continue to do roads projects that are too expensive, and the value we get out of it over a period of time diminishes. Are some of the issues I believe that they should also be looking at. On entrepreneurship, Mr. Speaker, one of the biggest challenges we have in this country is the concept of all young people believing and thinking that after school, government will employ them. Mr. Speaker, that is one major difficulty that we've had as politicians. And I believe that investment in the area of private sector, small businesses, medium-scale businesses that Ghanaians can manage for the long term should be one area that government should be investing a lot of public funds, starting from now, to make sure that we can expand that area, use that to generate employment, also use that to generate taxes for the country. On the issue of the nominee for Attorney General, Mr. Speaker, I worked with Dr. Ayini on the subsidiary committee for the last 4 years, and he has shown to be a moderate. He has shown to believe in consensus, and he has always stood his grounds and admitted his mistake. And I believe that is one person that, quite frankly, we are all happy he's gotten this nomination. I believe that the House would also support and make sure that he becomes the next Attorney General to be able to do the work for Ghana. Last but not least, I'll talk about John Paul JJ. I'd worked with him on the transition at Energy Ministry, and I believe that since he has a lot of information and he has worked in that sector, all we are praying is that do not come back. All we are praying is that the fuel will flow as that happened in the last 7 years.
Thank you.
And with these few words, Mr. Speaker,
thank you very much.
I support this nomination to go to so I can start with. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let's now turn to Honorable Xavier Sosu.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to the motion ably moved for the approval of the 3 nominees of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. Mr. Speaker, Dr. Atuforsen has shown extreme leadership in this House and shown in-depth knowledge in finance and national economy, which I believe makes his nomination one of the finest and one of the best. Mr. Speaker, it is often said that true leadership is revealed by adversity. Mr. Speaker, you would bear testimony to the fact that Dr. Atuforsen was one of the people who was politically targeted. And throughout last year, 2 years ago, he had to endure all manner of attack on his personality. He had to endure going to court while serving as a very, very firm voice of the opposition on the Finance Committee. And Mr. Speaker,
Honorable Member for Medina, hold on.
Very well, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I must sound a caution. My friend said that Honorable Atuforsen was politically targeted. And I think this is not fair and this is below the belt. To say that he was politically targeted, I think this must be expunged from the records. And because if he's asked to justify why he was politically or the circumstances of political target, I'm not sure the honorable member will be able to justify this. I'm grateful.
Thank you so much. Honorable Xavier, once you are also an officer of the court, I think you do us the honors and withdraw that.
Mr. Speaker, I respectfully withdraw that statement.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Dr. Atuforsen was one of the members of Parliament last year that underwent all kinds of struggles, let me put it that way, in the face of delivering his work before this very House. But, Mr. Speaker, you will agree with me that he distinguished himself. He was firm, he was principled, he stood his grounds to defend his position when it comes to matters of the economy. You recall how he led our side to fight fiercely against the e-levy. And, Mr. Speaker, what is good about Dr. Atuforsen is the fact that even now at the vetting committee, he stood his position to say that definitely the NDC government is going to honor its promise by scraping off the e-levy and other taxes that he's always to buy. Mr. Speaker, Atuforsen represents some inspiration to young people because he's in his 40s and yet he's already distinguished himself, rising through the ranks to the highest pinnacle of becoming a finance minister. And Mr. Speaker, that is an inspiration to all of us, and I believe that he is definitely going to carry the people of Ghana through and honor all the promises that the NDC has made in its manifesto, particularly when it comes to youth employment. Mr. Speaker, our brother and friend John Jinakbo has also distinguished himself as a member of parliament and also shown very excellent knowledge when it comes to the energy sector. And I believe that he's also going to do very well and be an answer to the energy challenges that we were plunged into by the former administration. Mr. Speaker, finally, Dr. Ayine was my lecturer and has been an inspiration to me in various ways. And Mr. Speaker, I must say that in the last parliament, when I led some private bills like the abolition of the death penalty, Dr. Ayine played a key role in ensuring that we achieve that goal of abolishing the death penalty, criminalizing witchcraft accusation. Mr. Speaker, I would want to use this opportunity to urge Dr. Ayine that Ghana still has to sign the second optional protocol to the ICCPR and also work on removing the death penalty from the Armed Forces Act. And I hope that as he assumes this ministry, he will lead the way to make this happen. And most importantly, also work on the non-custodial sentences for petty crime. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I wish him the best, and I wish all of them the best, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. It is now the turn of Dr. Gideon Buako. Doc, you have the floor now.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to support the motion ably moved for the ministers.
Honorable member, may you speak up a bit?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I rise in appreciation of the opportunity you have given me to comment on the nominees whose reports have been brought before this House. Right Honorable Speaker, the ministers we are considering today, as has been said by one of us, have all served as deputy ministers in the respective ministries that they are going. And Mr. Speaker, it's interesting that the government led by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is a government on a reset agenda, but these nominations indicate an upgrade from former deputy ministers to substantive ministers. It gives an indication that, indeed, it is good to upgrade in life as human beings. Right Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Dr. K.C.L. Atuforsen, who has been nominated to the prestigious office of the Finance Minister, is a distinguished personality. He served as a member of Parliament. He served on the Finance Committee. He's been a Deputy Minister for Finance before. So truly, his competence and experience in the ministry he's going to is not questionable. The Honorable Minister-designate came to the KNUST at the time I was a lecturer there at the business school for one of his programs. But Mr. Speaker, once we approve the Minister for Finance, it is important for me to note that he is going into that office to perform three main functions as any finance manager will perform. He's going to take investment decisions for the country, financing decisions for the country, and budgeting decisions. Mr. Speaker, it is important as a country, having one of us going to such ministries, to remind ourselves that we need to enter into contracts that the Ghanaian people will have value for money. Recently, His Excellency the President met the President of the African Development Bank and put before them initiatives and projects that the government wants to embark upon. Mr. Speaker, we have been on this curve before, and Ghana in the past have procured some loans for infrastructure projects, and most of these loans have come at exorbitant prices to the Ghanaian people. Mr. Speaker, if you indulge me, I should like to remind the minister going for the finance minister that in the year 2015, the government of Ghana, through the African Development Bank, took a loan for the Terminal 3 project. That loan came with an interest of 8.5%, so high for the Ghanaian people. It took the government of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to renegotiate that interest down to 5%. Also, the initial loan agreement for the Temako-Sombo standard gauge railway project that was contracted by the NDC government that the Honorable Atto-Forson was the deputy minister came with an interest of 6-month LIBOR plus 1.75%. Mr. Speaker, this was so high, and it took the government of the NPP to renegotiate this down to 6-month LIBOR plus 1.5%. Then again, Mr. Speaker,
Honorable,
if you look at the Pokuasi interchange,
Honorable Member, I believe you'll get time for you to debate some of these issues.
thank you, Mr.
So
Speaker.
let's begin to wind up for me.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the point I am making is that as the minister heads to the ministry to take financing decisions for the country, we must ensure that if we are going for loans, we go for cheaper loans. If we are procuring financing, we must ensure that the financing we are procuring are not coming at exorbitant prices to the Ghanaian people. Mr. Speaker, in winding up, I want to comment briefly on the Honorable Minister for Energy, John Jinapo. Mr. Speaker.
I give you 1 minute, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, something that is of utmost interest to the Ghanaian people today is electricity tariffs. I wish to remind the minister that Ghanaian people will be very appreciative if he's able to work to reduce prices or the tariffs of electricity. And Mr. Speaker, just to support what I'm saying with this data, Ghanaians have gone through a lot. In 2009, there was no increase in electricity tariffs.
Honorable Member.
Mr. Speaker, in 2010, Ghanaians paid 10%. In 2011, 8.9%. In 2012, 7.4%. In 2013, 58%. In 2014, 28%. Mr. Speaker, in the heat of doomsday, we were paying 90%.
Honorable Member, thank you so much. You'll get the opportunity.
If you just oppose this.
Honorable Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Member, you'll get the opportunity one day.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
So that you can give up your. Thank you very much. Honorable members, please.
Right, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Leader, it's the first time.
I want to advise. I just want to advise my colleague. I understand that this is a very exciting time for you, and that's why we were indulging you. But please, when the Speaker asks you to wind up, please do so. It's very, very important. We work towards the Speaker, and so when he tells you to wind up, please do so.
Thank you very much. It is now the turn of Honorable Ampenyako Asujaman. Please.
Thank you.
Work around 5 minutes for me.
Mr. Speaker, I'll try to do less than 5 minutes.
No.
I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the announcement of the nomination of these 3 honorable members, Honorable Dr. Atto-Forson, Honorable John Jinapor, and Honorable Ayini, was greeted by Ghanaians with a lot of excitement and approval. And in fact, it tells all of us that President Mahama has started getting things right. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, there is one thing that is common about all these nominees, and it is the fact that they are all being nominated to ministries that they previously worked as deputy ministers. In fact, Dr. Atto-Forson was Deputy Minister for Finance, John Jinapor was Deputy Minister for Energy, and Dr. Ayeni was Deputy Attorney General. And this tells us something, that if you are given an opportunity and you work hard, one day you will be recognized. Oh, Mr. Speaker, Honorable Opal Kroma is harassing me. One day, you will be recognized and you will be elevated to higher heights. And so this is a lesson to everybody, that any opportunity that you get, no matter how small it is, work hard and one day you will be rewarded. Mr. Speaker, their responses showed clearly that they are ready for the work and they appreciate fully the task ahead of them. In fact, Dr. Atto-Forson stated clearly that he is going to walk the talk. President Mahama intends to walk the talk and to deliver on all the promises that he made to Ghanaians. I was so excited hearing him give assurance to the committee, through the committee to all Ghanaians, that in the next budget, Ghanaians will see the repeal of those taxes that we spoke against when we were in opposition. That e-levy will be abolished, that betting tax will be abolished, and others. Mr. Speaker, Dr. Atto-Forson made rather an ambitious promise that he aims to work hard to bring inflation down to 8% plus or minus 2. Knowing that inflation had risen to over 50% under the previous administration, it is quite refreshing to note that that is one of his targets, that will bring down inflation to a single digit. We know that inflation came down to around 20-something%. But if that is one of the targets of Dr. Atto-Forson at the ministry, then it is very encouraging, and I believe all of us will work hard to support for the realization of this. Mr. Speaker, he explained the 24-hour economy, and contrary to what the leader said, that he said he's going to be only about not his response. He said we will focus on the real sector. In fact, we, the NDC, have stated clearly that selected public institutions with large customers like DVLA, like the Harbor, like Passport Office, will all be under the 24-hour economy, and it will help. He said that with my background and everything, this is what I believe should be done. This is the man that is going to the Attorney General's department. And so when the minority leader was appealing that he shouldn't go and persecute political opponents and all that, I can assure him that the man going to this office is principled and he will do his work very well. Finally, on Honorable Jinapor, he's my friend. If I don't mention him, it will be fair. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Jinapor, someone I have worked with on the Finance Committee, has also demonstrated that he is ready to help us solve the energy challenges. He said something about power purchase agreements, and I was so happy with that response, because an erroneous impression has always been created that it was wrong for us to have take-or-pay clauses in power purchase agreements. But he demonstrated that even succeeding governments after him signed about 6 agreements that also included take or pay clauses. Thank you very much. So I encourage all of us to approve these nominees. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. It is now the turn of Honorable John Darko.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity given to me to support the motion for the approval of the 3 nominees in the persons of Dr. Dominic Ayeni and Honorable Kesel Atuba Forsen and Honorable John Jinapo. In the case of Honorable John Jinapo and Dr. Ayeni, I had the opportunity to put some few questions to them during the vetting. I believe their answers to the questions are out there. I believe the jury is still out there on whether their answers were satisfactory or not. But Mr. Speaker, I did not get a chance to ask the Finance Minister nominee 1 or 2 questions that I had, and I want to bring that to the fore. Mr. Speaker, when the Finance Minister nominee, Honorable Dr. Atuba Forsen, appeared before the committee, he presented a CV which I went through. Mr. Speaker, when I went through the CV, I saw that the Honorable Finance Minister nominee has stated that he was once a director of a company called Protect Integrated Services Limited in the UK. Mr. Speaker, when I tried to search on the company, I realized that honorable nominee's dates in which he claimed he was a director showed that he was a director from 2003 to 2005. The search at the UK's company registry, which is on the internet, shows that that company was actually set up in February 2005. I also realized that when you go through the company's record, Honorable Minister nominee's name wasn't there as a director, contrary to what he has stated on his CV. And the search also showed that that company was liquidated sometime in 2009. I mean, this is going to be a Minister of Finance for the country. And I was wondering how somebody who is going to run our country will become a director, is going to run our finance ministry, was once a director of a company which has been folded up. And then the fact that the date in which he claimed he was a director clearly shows that he wasn't a director at the time. He was a director. The company was actually set up in 2005 when he said he was a director in 2003 to 2005. So, Mr. Speaker, if it's a mistake, we would like to have the Honorable Minister to come and clarify that.
Hold on. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, the practice in the UK is that when you are going to start a business, initially you don't register it. There are few businesses that start as registered businesses. You start under a concept known as trading at. So you trade as a particular name and you do business until the business is well established to a point where you can now go and formally register that name as the business.
Mr. Speaker, no.
So he started trading as that name and worked for about 2 years, after which he then went and registered the company. The records are there. You don't understand the concept, you can Google it. Trading as, and you will see it. That is a very common practice that is encouraged in the UK. And so this business was conducted in the UK, and that is how it started. That is why at the point that you are talking about, it wasn't registered, but it actually was an existing business. Go and check. Just Google it. Google it on your phone. You will see that in the UK, it is a common and accepted practice. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes,
Point
Honorable
of clarification.
you may conclude.
Mr. Speaker, very briefly, point of clarification.
No, I'm not giving you the opportunity.
Mr. Speaker, that's a clear misinformation to the House, Mr. Speaker, on UK company law and practice.
Mr. Speaker.
Hold on. Let me give the opportunity to the chairman of the committee.
Right, Honorable Speaker, thank you for giving me the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, it is observable from the fact that members get up without catching the eyes of the Speaker, then they will put on the microphone. Mr. Speaker, they have gone through an orientation. So this habit can no longer be entertained in this House. So once again, members should take note that by practice and convention in this House, you get up until you catch the eyes of the Speaker. You do not put on your microphone. It's not looking good. We've gone through the orientation exercise with them. So I don't want to see this reoccurring.
Thank you very much. Yes, Honorable John Darko, you may continue.
Honorable Speaker, so I was saying the company, the registered company that we know, which is the Protect Integrated Services Limited, was registered in 2005. I don't care what my learned colleague on the other side is saying, that you have to operate the company at a particular or for a particular period before it is registered. I think that it is inaccurate. What we are dealing with is a registered company, and that is what he has provided to this House and the people of Ghana, that he was a director of that company, Protect Integrated Services Limited, from 2003 to 2005. If it's a mistake, you should come to this House to come and correct it. This is a House of record. He is going to be the Minister for Finance, and it is important that some of these things are corrected. Mr. Speaker, on that I yield.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Member. You take the last from the majority side, from Honorable Yusuf Suleimana.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very grateful for the opportunity to contribute to the motion that is before us this afternoon. Mr. Speaker, indeed, the three gentlemen that have been nominated and vetted are really assets to this nation. Mr. Speaker, we all know Honorable Atu Fortin. We are aware of his humility, somebody who is very focused, very diligent, and very knowledgeable. And this was demonstrated when he was vetted. His responses were apt. Mr. Speaker, when he was asked on the issue of tax exemptions, he was clear that we should give tax exemptions to companies that really deserve this, and that we should be fair in giving out these tax exemptions. And that, for me, is something that we all have to take into consideration. And this is a person that needs to occupy this very important position so that he will demonstrate fairness and not to be biased. Mr. Speaker, let me also touch on my own brother, my younger brother, Honorable John Abdullahi Jinapo, a young man with vision, a young man who has demonstrated competence, a young man very knowledgeable when it comes to energy and finance, a young man who is able to give us assurance that doing so will be a thing of the past.
We have just inherited Dumso, something that the John Mahama administration had worked to resolve. We inherited it from you. And this young gentleman gave us the hope that Dumso will not resurface in this country. And he has taken pragmatic steps to ensure that we don't sleep in darkness. You don't sleep in darkness. And so you should begin clapping for him. You should begin clapping for him. That the mess you have caused, this young man, a visionary leader, has given us hope. And these are the kind of people that we expect His Excellency John Dramani Mahama to put into very strategic positions like this. And so I call on you unanimously to approve these men of integrity so that the mess that we have inherited, they will be able to resolve that for us. Mr. Speaker, lastly, because I don't want to take so much time. Lastly, Honorable Dominic Ayeni. When the name is mentioned, people shiver. This is a man that we all know. His credibility level is high. You can compare him to other outgoing attorney general and what have you. You can compare them and you see a difference. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Dominic Ayeni, a lecturer, an experienced lawyer, and but some of us seated here are even his students. I can see some of them seated there and listening. This is a man who taught you, and you know his worth. And that's the man who's not coming to lead you when it comes to issues of law and issues of courts in this country. I think you should be clapping for Mama for giving you such a respected person that even in the international front, when he speaks, he brings credibility to Ghana. And so, once again, I want to call on you.
Thank you.
To rise up and give a unanimous approval to these young men to save us from the position that we have inherited.
Thank you.
God bless you all. Mr. Speaker, I'm very grateful.
Thank you. Lastly, we will listen to Honorable Kojo Ponko.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it appears that the NDC has an act for three wise men. When President Mills was in power, he had his three wise men. And President Mahama appears to have started off with his three wise men, our brothers who have been nominated and who have performed creditably when they appeared before the Appointments Committee. Dr. Ayene was Deputy Attorney General when I was called to the bar. He actually handed me my qualified certificate of law. His track record is well known and well respected. We wish him well. He's not only going to be Attorney General, he's also going to be Minister responsible for justice. Mr. Speaker, justice is a subject that across the country many people still look forward to. Court infrastructure, residences for magistrates and judges, the kind of budgets that must go there, the availability of lawyers for legal aid to ensure that justice is done in the nooks and crannies of this country. These are things that we expect Dr. Ayene, in addition to other functions, to pay attention to, and wish him well. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable John Jinapor, our brother, is well versed in the subject of energy and finance. He has offered a lot of explanations about take or pay and things that have gone on in the past. Mr. Speaker, no matter the explanations you give, and I speak as a former member of cabinet, a few lessons that we can share with our colleagues. No matter the explanations that you give, what the people of Ghana are waiting for is that fuel prices don't go up, the electricity prices don't go up, the fuel is available at the pumps, that the lights don't go off. We wish our brother well, and we hope he delivers in that area. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Dr. Atuforsen spoke about four things I want to briefly comment on. One was on raising revenue. The Honorable Dr. Atuforsen says that his target is to move tax to GDP ratio from 13% to about 18%. That's about 500 basis points. Mr. Speaker, 1% of GDP is about 10 billion Ghana cedis. So to move it from 13 to 18 is about 50 billion Ghana cedis. at a time when, as we have agreed across the political divide, some tax handles should be removed. E-levy, COVID, betting. E-levy and COVID alone, nothing less than 20 billion. So what he's promising us is that he's going to take away about 20 billion from the revenue handles, but still grow it by another 50. We are hoping that he will do that without introducing new taxes or renaming some of the taxes. And whatever he will do in that area, we will support him and help him. If it works well and Ghana moves to 18% of GDP, it works well for all of us. Mr. Speaker, he spoke about expenditure cuts and says that he's committed to it. On this side of the House, we had already advertised that we are looking forward to about a cut of 3% of GDP. So we'll be looking forward to expenditure cuts that he will present in his first budget, and we'll help him to achieve it. However, Mr. Speaker, whatever cuts we do, we should ensure that quality of projects are not being sacrificed. We should expect that ongoing projects that are delivering value to Ghanaians are not sacrificed. Yesterday, the Honorable Agboja at his vetting mentioned that commitment on roads is about 100 billion. That means about 100 billion worth of road projects ongoing. These cuts, we are hoping, will not lead to a stop of the major critical road and other infrastructure projects across the country. Mr. Speaker, the third thing he spoke about, which I want to briefly comment on, is debt management. That under his administration, they will do better in debt management. At the same time, he's considering taking some more money from the IMF. That's not a grant, that's debt. What is that debt going to do? Worsen our debt situation or improve it? So, Mr. Speaker, we'll be looking forward to these things and helping our brother to achieve those objectives. And finally, the respected minority leader drew attention to the fact that when the president issued the EI on the ministries, he said Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning. But when he issued the communication to the Speaker, he said Minister responsible for finance. We will urge our brother to avoid the trap of creating the impression that he is responsible for the economy. The minister responsible for fiscal policy, the minister responsible for finance, like my brother Ricketts knows, is the minister responsible for fiscal policy, not the whole economy. There are external economic developments that he doesn't have control over. There are things happening in the monetary policy space that he doesn't have control over. There are real sector economic issues in other areas that other ministers will be taking decisions and impacting the economy. He doesn't have control over that. So from our lessons, we wish them well. We will give them all the support that we can. If it works well for all of us. And with these few words, Mr. Speaker, we will support the motion that the brothers be approved to take up their position. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, at the conclusion of the debate, the question is, as many as are in favor of the motion listed (13). Yes. Yes. The question is, as many as are in favor of the motion listed 11 in today's order paper, say aye. Aye. All those against say no. Honorable members, it is obvious the ayes have it. The motion is hereby adopted. And that this Honorable House has adopted His Excellency the President's nomination of Honorable Dr. Brothers in the brothers in this house, and we hope that they will make us proud. Yes. Honorable First Deputy Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. As the mover of the motion, I want to use the opportunity to thank the Appointment Committee and the entire House for adopting the report of the unanimous decision of the committee by consensus. Right Honorable Speaker, on behalf of the nominee, I sincerely thank the entire House. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Leadership? Leadership? Yes.
Madam Speaker, we intend to go and continue the vetting of the president nominees. And I think on that note, we will ask that you suspend the House for us to allow the appointment committee to do that work, and then we can come back with the second report. That was the agreement.
Yes, Honorable Minority Leader. But are the reports not ready?
Speaker, I disagree with him. Respectfully, I disagree with him because we had conclave, and Speaker, two very important statements have been admitted, and it's important we allow members to read their statement. At this time, yes, it's important. They are equally important. Speaker, so you were not at conclave, and you admit that. You were not there. Oh, good. So, Speaker, we should rather proceed to take item 8, after which we can decide on what next.
Madam Speaker, indeed, that was the agreement. I wasn't there, but it's been agreed that there will be a statement taken and then 2 statements. Yes. Thank you.
Well, honorable members, let's turn to page 2. Page 2 in today's order paper. Page 2. Item listed 8, statements. The first statement is from our colleague from Suhum, Honorable Bequin Frank Asiedu.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes, let's hear you. I was going to talk about the topic, but I can't see the headings well, so you can go ahead.
Mr. Speaker, I am honored to join my colleagues in congratulating you on your re-election as the Speaker for the 9th Parliament.
As second Deputy Speaker. Yes. Go on.
For the 4th Republic, and do welcome you back to the Speaker's chair. Mr. Speaker, permit me to also thank the illustrious sons and daughters of Suhum constituency for electing me into this August House, and I promise to serve them in dignity and in truth. Mr. Speaker, I am fortified by Orders 93 and 67 FF, and to thank you for the opportunity to highlight a matter of growing importance
in global public health, namely the human metapneumovirus, HMPV, and how Ghana can strengthen its surveillance and preparedness efforts in response to this virus. HMPV is a respiratory virus known to cause symptoms often to the common cold, including a stuffy nose, cough, shortness of breath, sore throat, fever, and occasionally rash. While HMPV typically presents with mild illness, it can be more severe in young children, adults over 65 years, and individuals with weakened immune systems, which can result in mortality. It mirrors some of the symptoms we observe with COVID-19, underscoring why testing and proper diagnosis are essential. HMPV spreads primarily through respiratory droplets, via coughing, sneezing, and close physical contacts, such as shaking hands, hugging, or kissing. It can also be transmitted by touching objects or surfaces contaminated by the virus, and then touching one's eyes, nose, or mouth. Recent data from the Chinese Center for Disease Control and Prevention up to the 29th of December 2024 indicates notable increase in common acute respiratory infections, including those caused by seasonal influenza viruses, respiratory syncytial virus, RSV, and human metapneumovirus, HMPV. This trend serves as a warning sign for countries around the world to enhance surveillance and be ready to mount a timely response. Ghana must draw on the lessons we learned during COVID-19 to protect our population. We must draw on the experience of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's administration. These included the critical role of robust surveillance systems, widespread testing, clear public health communication, and the readiness of healthcare facilities to respond to spikes in respiratory infections. The Ghana Health Service and all relevant public health authorities should work in tandem to strengthen surveillance, enhance public awareness campaigns, promote preventive measures, and maintain readiness of healthcare facilities. Mr. Speaker, I commend the Ghana Health Service for coming out on this matter. I therefore draw government's attention to this and to further advise it to give these state institutions the needed support to be able to handle the situation. Mr. Speaker, our collective experience with COVID-19 underscores the critical importance of vigilance, preparedness, and swift response. HMPV's similar symptoms to other respiratory infections means that our surveillance efforts must be comprehensive and well coordinated. By investing in robust public health infrastructure, we can safeguard our citizens, preserve their health, and sustain productivity. Mr. Speaker, it is incumbent upon us to assure the Ghanaian public that we stand ready to address any emerging threats to our nation's health with appropriate planning, clear communication, and collaboration across sectors. We can effectively manage HMPV and any future respiratory viruses as we think globally and act locally. Our people deserve a health system that is resilient, proactive, and committed to protecting the well-being of all. Thank you for your kind attention.
Honourable members, I have another statement. I want us to take that one as well. Then I'll invite members to contribute. You may decide to contribute to which one you are interested in. So let me invite Honourable Member for Medina to also read his statement on Ghana's leadership in ensuring the full implementation of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. Yes, leader.
Speaker, with respect to you, and Speaker, on any day I will defer to you, I want to humbly suggest, looking at the subject matter, the title of that statement that was read by Honorable Bequin, it's so important that, Speaker, this is not to challenge your directives, but I have a strong feeling that if we put the two together, we may not exhaust that particular subject matter enough. So I want to humbly appeal to you, because if we can separately take those statements and also entertain, because it's also for hands up, and I'm sure that whilst the contributions come out, we may end up giving some consequential directives. So, my humble suggestion.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I agree with the Minority Chief Whip. Because of time conflict, we have to take the two together.
Honourable Sosu, hold on. Let me invite contributors to the first statement. Yes, let me invite, today, how many ladies have spoken? No, I haven't seen any lady. So I'll give the opportunity to the two ladies who are up first before I'll give any opportunity. So let me go to Honourable Teresa. Is it Timpani? Yes, let's hear you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to all these important statements. Looking at the statement, the Honourable Member has done justice to it, but there are some few items that I want to add to the statement. As an infection that mimics pneumonia and bronchitis, Ghana Health Service should take note that when people report at the health facility, they should be able to do differential diagnosis. How do we diagnose somebody who has this virus? We can only do this by nose swabbing, taken to the laboratory, so that we are able to isolate the virus. Because it has the same symptoms with normal pneumonia and bronchitis. So Ghana Health Service has to take this virus seriously, because it's like all the viruses that is coming into this country usually come from China. Though it was discovered in 2001 or 2001 in Germany, it is mostly found in the Chinese part of the world, and that we should watch out so that we don't get up one morning and we COVID-19 that we have in 2019, because I have learned from what has just been read that a lot of people or schools are being closed down in China because of this particular virus. What virus are we talking of? The proper name for this virus is human pneumovirus. It's a virus that has to do with your lungs. So when you get it, you cough, and you also have symptoms like a normal pneumonia. It is serious in children where they have to go through mechanical ventilation so that they'll be able to breathe. It also has to do with people whose immune system are very low, whose immune system is predisposed, like people who have hepatitis B and HIV virus. And that when people have these symptoms and come to the health facilities, it is best to also diagnose or to also find out if they have any of this virus. Again, sitting in this, you can see the sitting arrangement, that we are too close to each other. And I think that we should be looking at a way that there can be space in this chamber where if somebody is coughing, you don't know what is bringing the cough. We'll be able not to infect each other or reinfect each other. Because here, as we sit, when there's an outbreak of this virus, we are going to have a lot of people getting infected. Again, we have to look at our people who are their age is a bit high, like from 65 and above. Because at that age, their immune system is low, this virus easily attacks them, and when they attack them, become more serious than any other person who is at a lower age. Right Honorable Speaker, I will urge the health system, Ghana Health Services, and Minister of Health to take this virus seriously. But we think that it is not here, but we should begin to do differential diagnosis so that we'll be able to isolate it, that we don't wake up one morning and get something like coronavirus that we have in 2019. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you very, very much. Let me go to Etiwa West. I said I wanted to satisfy the ladies first before I come to the men. So Etiwa West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to contribute to my colleague's statement. Although the human metapneumovirus is nothing to be panicking about, the HMPV for short, we do need to take it seriously, and we need to be vigilant. So we as leaders, we're on the ground, so we have a direct impact on our communities, our constituencies. We need to work with the local assemblies to promote preventative measures such as hand washing, trying not to shake. I know it's a culture, but perhaps we have to limit shaking of hands or wearing of masks when you feel ill so that we prevent a catastrophe. We'll all recall when COVID-19 started. It was not to worry, not a problem, it's not a big deal, but look how it morphed into catastrophic losses. So we're not trying to create fear or panic, but we do need to be vigilant and promote these preventative measures. And we do need a Ghana Health Service also to implement robust surveillance systems that will do early detection to prevent any crisis. I must commend the Ghana Health System because during COVID, they were excellent in the contact tracing and tracking. And I'm very confident that with this seeming threat, they will also be committed to implement and put in place some robust surveillance systems which will prevent will detect any looming threats and also prevent the crisis. So, Mr. Speaker, we do have a responsibility to be proactive. So that's what I'm basically getting up here to speak about. We have to be proactive and educate, and make the public aware, make our constituents aware of this threat, although it is not, it's been around for years, but it can be deadly in infants, and as my colleague from the majority side said, in the elderly as well. So once we keep the public informed and educated, I believe that we'll be able to prevent any catastrophe that, because we don't want another COVID-19. So thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Yes, I want to give the opportunity to the first timers. So, yes, honorable member. See, honorable members, the first timers, please don't be offended if I ask for your name and your constituency. We need to know each other so that next time when I see you, I'll be able to call you by your name. So if I call you and ask of your constituency and your name, please don't be offended. Yes.
Speaker, if I can have the attention of the Honorable Ricketts, available leader. Yes. While Speaker was speaking, I saw your backbenchers. Him was standing, even when the Speaker was speaking. You have to do some work at your backyard. Please, carry your members along. You must come to appreciate that when the Speaker is speaking, we will listen to the Speaker in silence, and that's what our orders say. What do you say to that?
Mr. Speaker, I take note of that. I have just arrived.
Thank you very much. I believe the orientation
says he just arrived. In what capacity? Is it
as available leader?
As an available leader, he has answered you right. Yes, my brother, let's hear you.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. I am Professor Titus Bayo, Lambusi constituency. Yeah, and I want to commend my colleague, the Honorable Member for Suhum, for drawing the attention of the nation to this important condition. And I will say that at this time, we should call for calm. There's no need to panic because available data suggests that this is not a very deadly virus. But it is important that we strengthen our surveillance systems. And I have every confidence in the surveillance system of the Ghana Health Service, that we've used it for COVID, we've used it for other infectious diseases, and I can say it is almost foolproof. However, I would say that the call for us to adopt preventive measures has additional benefits other than protecting us from this virus. We notice how during the COVID, in the height of the COVID, when we're all practicing hand washing, social distancing, and the use of the face masks, we had 0 cholera cases in the country and 0 cholera deaths during that period. That is one benefit we stand to gain measures. So I want to call on honorable members in this chamber, as a colleague alluded to. When you develop symptoms of any flu, cough, cold, it is advisable to use the face mask, whether you have been treated or diagnosed of any condition or not. And then I would conclude by saying that we implore the health system, especially the diagnostic services, Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research, to improve their diagnosis, to see, just in case we have some of these cases lurking around, so they can raise the necessary alerts. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let him now come to Dr. Mahama.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for the opportunity to comment on this statement by the Honourable Member for Suhum. Mr. Speaker, the subject matter is very important, and I'll join my colleagues in asking that we treat it with the utmost urgency, because we had similar experience in the case of COVID, where we were asked to stay calm, not to shiver, not to get scared, but we were faced with a catastrophic that was declared as a national pandemic or global pandemic by the WHO. And Mr. Speaker, if the House would note, COVID, based on our experience, has led to over 700 million infections with over 6 million deaths. The economic cost of COVID to families, individuals was so huge. The cost of COVID to Ghana was unimaginable and very burdensome. And I think that we will need to take this issue seriously, and my colleagues mentioned about surveillance, but much more important is the need for us to scale up and safeguard the initiative that the former president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, took, i.e., we instituted or we commissioned the National Vaccine Institute. This was supposed to wrap up our local capacity in terms of development of vaccine in the case of emergency like one we are facing now, the imminent threat of HPV virus. Also, we had the Agenda 111 project, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, such a disaster, if I may call it, such an outbreak will require that we prepare in terms of the health infrastructure. And I think that this is a clarion call to the president and the executive to make sure that they wrap up work on the Agenda 111 project so that if any eventuality do happen, we'll be adequately prepared to address that. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, since we have another statement and there are other business to also conduct, I will take one, then we'll listen to the other statement. So let me listen to the one. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Emmanuel Kwesidra, Upper West Achim. This is a very important national issue globally. And my take on this has to do with the fact that we have institutions that are highly responsible for some of these emergencies. Taking the veterinary services, for instance, a lot of research has shown that some of these outbreaks are from animals. Till today, I'm yet to know whether the veterinary services division or department is under Ministry of Agric or the Ghana Health Service. And I think it is time we start involving some of these very important national institutions that can take control of some of these issues. Mr. Speaker, it will surprise you to know that if you get to the head office of the Veterinary Services Department, just around this area, how deteriorated their structures are. The systems are failing. And so I think it will be prudent to get the right institutions involved. Sometimes you see the Wildlife Division of the Forestry Commission going around from chop bar to chop bars, checking some of these animals that are at these various job bars.
Bearing in mind the effects of COVID-19, and even have forgotten about the measures that we once instituted to prevent, viruses of this nature escalating to become pandemics. Even though there's information in the media space, as I said, there's very little that's being done. Mr. Speaker, reminiscent of the lingering plagues that many countries have suffered due to COVID-19, we need to start embarking on awareness creation at all levels. And I think this august house should be a shining example to this country. Mr. Speaker, common preventive measures like washing of hands, social distancing, covering of nose and mouth when sneezing can be encouraged and enforced once again. And I would like to repeat that this House can set the example to the country. Mr. Speaker, I suggest that institutions like the NCCE should start immediately with a public awareness campaign to ensure that we do not go back and suffer the consequences and the costly consequences of an outbreak that is mirroring COVID-19. Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, honorable members. Before we move to the next statement, let me say this. The statement is very, very important, and it needs urgent attention. The House have not yet constituted the committees yet, so we don't have committee of health. Neither do we have the ministers of state in place. So let me urge the Ghana Health Service to put in place measures that will curtail this particular urgent health issue. And I will urge the leadership, especially the business committee, if possible, if you can plan, to invite Ghana Health Service leadership to also come and brief the House. I think that can also help. Yes.
Speaker, just to commend you highly for the consequential directives given in the wake of the statement duly delivered by our colleague, and the directives spot on, except to say that, Speaker, in this House, we've always been guided often by some timelines, especially where matters of such importance has come up on the House floor. So I will further plead with you, if you may, we should give some timelines when the Ghana Health Service will be programmed by the business committee for them to apprise members duly. Timelines will be of essence, Speaker.
Well, I hope the business committee will meet on Thursday to decide the ensuing week. So you are part of the business committee. Let me assign you so that you table it at the business committee on Thursday so that we will invite the Ghana Health Service leadership to at least come and brief the House, and by extension, brief the nation. Thank you. So, honorable members, we are going to take the second statement, but before then, kindly allow me to take item 9AB, item 9AII, item 9AII, the second report of the appointment committee on His Excellency the President nomination for appointment as ministers. So the chairman of the committee may lead the report.
Second report of the Appointments Committee on His Excellency the President's nominations for appointment as ministers.
Honorable members, the report have been duly laid They are to be distributed to honorable members. Yes, Chairman.
Right Honorable Speaker, I rise on Standing Order 97-2. And with your permission, I read. It is under marginal note, procedure for presentation of papers. And it reads, if so desired by the person presenting a paper, a short explanatory statement may be made by the person upon the presentation of the paper. Mr. Speaker, I want to reiterate the fact that it is at this stage that Order 97 of the Standing Orders of Parliament applies, but not at the stage of the presentation of the report of the committee for adoption. Mr. Speaker, the report under reference is on His Excellency the President's nomination of Honorable Kwame Governance Agboja to the Ministry of Roads and Highways. Honorable Haruna Idrisu, Ministry of Education, and Honorable Eriko Poku, Minister Designate for the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity.
Well. Thank you very much. Yes, Honorable Member for Menchia South.
Mr. Speaker, very respectfully, I stand on Order 97-3, which reads as follows. A short explanatory statement shall be made by the person presenting a paper where requested by the House or a member upon the presentation, to humbly request that a short explanatory statement is made to accompany each of the report on each of the nominees, Mr. Speaker, which has been presented to the House. Very respectfully submit, Mr. Speaker.
But have you gotten a copy of the report?
No. No.
Table. Please, let's be sure the reports are distributed to members. And I think the reports are self-explanatory, and members are seeking to get explanation or short explanation. But I think the reports are self-explanatory. Yes, Chairman, what do you want to say?
Right, Honorable Speaker, it is for a stated reason that I said I'm rising on Order 97-2. Mr. Speaker, Order 97-2 that I have read to the House means that the person presenting the report, if he so desires, can give a short explanation to the report being presented. Mr. Speaker, that is what exactly I have done. Mr. Speaker, let me use the opportunity to say that fresh members of Parliament should hasten slowly. Mr. Speaker, it is in the absence of the member giving a short explanation to the report and the reference that 3 can be invoked. Mr. Speaker, once the member has given the explanation based on the member's own desire, then 97-3 is no longer applicable, because 97-3 states that a short explanatory statement shall be made by the person presenting a paper where requested by the House or a member upon presentation. In this case, by my own volition, I have offered under 97.2 to give that particular explanation. So it shouldn't be the case that 97.3 should again apply, because once I've exercised my discretion to voluntarily give a short explanation, then 97.3 can no longer apply, cannot be invoked. It is the absence of exercising the right under 97.2 that request can be made. And Mr. Speaker, let me state that when a procedure is set down for a right to be exercised, it accords with common sense and reason that it is only that procedure that will have to be exercised in doing so. Mr. Speaker, let me also state that I have been in this House for some time, and I was a member of the Standing Orders Committee, and we drafted the standing orders of this House. Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much for giving me the opportunity.
Yes, Honourable Member for Asia South. Mr. Speaker, very respectfully, this is a matter that accords with interpretation of the rules. I once upon a time went to a lecturer of mine, an English lecturer, and I sought his interpretation of a poem that he had written. Mr. Speaker, his simple response was that when a poem is written, it is not for the author to interpret the poem, but it is for the world to interpret the poem. It is so with statute, Mr. Speaker. When a statute is written, it doesn't matter who was part in the authoring of the statute. It is for the people to interpret the statute, very respectfully. So the position taken by the learned First Deputy Speaker, very respectfully, is clearly misconceived. Mr. Speaker, on a true and proper interpretation of Order 97.3, on a true and proper interpretation of Order 97.3, only three circumstances arise. Only under three circumstances that an explanatory statement may be made. Mr. Speaker, one is where the person very respectfully presenting the paper so desires. In the absence of that, a member may make a request and the House may also make a request. Otherwise, 97.3 would have said, 97.2 would have said, 97.3 would have said, subject to, in the absence of the use of the word or the phrase subject to, Mr. Speaker, very respectfully, 97.3 is not subservient to 97.2. They are independent provisions of the standing orders. And so even in the absence of your personal desire, very respectfully, Mr. Speaker, the personal desire of a member will require that you give that explanatory statement. The desire of the House may also require that you give that explanatory statement. Very respectfully. So the statement by the First Deputy Speaker is clearly misconceived, Mr. Speaker. Honourable members. And it doesn't matter whether or not a person is a first timer.
Mr. Speaker, with all due respect, it is trite learning that when interpreting a provision, the provision must be read as a whole. Mr. Speaker, reading Order 97 as a whole, there is an option for the presenter of the paper to give a short explanation. There is also an option that in the absence of a voluntary explanation, short explanation, the House or a member may request the presenter to give a short explanation. That is what Order 97, 2, and 3 is talking about. And Mr. Speaker, in this case, on my own volition, I have decided to give a short explanation after presenting my report. Having done that,
it doesn't also present in my paper. Having done that, it doesn't lie in the ambit of the House to call on me to give a short explanation that I have already given on my own volition. Mr. Speaker, this is the meaning that we can place on Standing Order 97. Mr. Speaker, I'm sorry to say that my friend should take his time and study the standing orders to say that I am misconceived the clear explanation of the standing order that I am giving is misconceived. Mr. Speaker, the least said about it, the better. Mr. Speaker, I will resist the temptation of descending into certain arenas. Mr. Speaker, I have been in this House for a long time, and I think I should put up a conduct that is worthy and deserve to be emulated, particularly by the fresh members of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, I thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Yes, Honorable First Deputy Speaker, I think you've given the explanation, only that the tail end of it was a bit. You have already given a short explanation, as we've said. He was also coming from the point of view that a member so desire can request for explanation if you refuse to do that. But like you said, you've already done that. My only problem with where it was the later, the last aspect of it. You've been here, we all came to meet you, but it doesn't matter that a first timer may also have his view. So I think we can move on. You have already given explanation to the statement, but please, I'm speaking. Yes, I'm speaking. So what I'm saying is, with respect to Order 97, the first Deputy Speaker has already crossed that hurdle. He gave short explanation to it. So I think that one is. So let me, Honorable Dafiamepo, let me hear you briefly, and then I come to it and you move on.
Speaker, very, very grateful. Speaker, this is a house of records, procedure and rules. Indeed, my brother, upon the submission by the chair of the Appointments Committee and the first Deputy Speaker, insisted that he appropriately invoked 97.3. And the issue is that I was hoping he would have submitted forcefully that there's no evidence of that brief explanatory memorandum being given. I was hoping that he would have insisted that there's no such evidence before the House. But the chairman of the committee insisted that in invoking 97.2, he elected to give that short explanatory explanation in respect of the memorandum. So I think the issue is about what will constitute that brief explanation or short explanation. It's up to this House to decide. But whatever it is, once he submits that as part of his presentation, the short explanation has been given, then my brother should accede that then 97.2 has been satisfied. So there will be no need to now invoke 97.3. It is when 2 has not been complied with that you invoke 3. With all due respect to him. I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Yes. Honorable Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I have followed the discussions on the floor. A respected senior at the bar, the first Deputy Speaker, he's done 23 years or more at the bar. His law is solid. His courtroom practice comes with excellence.
I respect views. I believe that sometimes when we are young, our approach may not be the way the elderly would want to approach things. So I can understand how he feels. And I would say that when we meet at the coffee area, I'm sure my respected colleague and junior at the bar and junior in the house would find space to further engage you, and I'll facilitate that. But that notwithstanding, colleagues, this is an opportunity for us to manage ourselves. Best practices will require that where you hold a different view, you make a forceful submission and use the word or the phrase, I disagree, with respect. So you never say somebody is wrong when it comes to a debate. But Mr. Speaker, this matter was brought to the fore by our respected colleague, Kojo Oponkoma, this morning, which is good. It's been a good teaser, and I'm happy it's being explored. I always tell people that the best way to develop our standing orders will be to tease it out and encourage a healthy debate on same. So it's good that today, or the 97 has come to the fore. In fact, the respected Honorable Ayariga, who sooner than later will assume the back seat, actually took us through some intellectual debate. And I nicely chickened out when I realized my arguments were very weak, and I found a way to invoke jurisprudence, Mr. Speaker. You know how we survive when things are difficult. So I was going around and all. But anyway, that's the beauty of democracy. So I'm sure Honorable Ahiafo, our respected colleague, Bafo, is taking a cue. Please, it's good you didn't take the matter too serious, but I'm sure in future he would find a better way of disagreeing with you and take it as it is. Forgive and forget. Is that okay? Yes. So you take it that it's misconceived, it's withdrawn. And in its place, the appropriate phrase is that he disagrees with you. Mr. Speaker, I shall...
Thank you very much. Honorable members, I hope the reports have been distributed. Have the reports been distributed? Very well. If the reports are yet to be distributed, honorable members, honorable member, you need to catch my eye. Honorable member, you need to catch my eye, please.
Speaker, reports have been generally distributed. The leader just walked in. If he
So
hasn't got a copy,
fine. So that's why I just wanted to find out whether the reports have been distributed. Honorable members, may you take your seats?
Fine.
Leadership, please take your seat first. Please, leadership, you help the chair to manage the House. Honorable members, new leaders who are here to take the right side of leadership. It's you, together with the minority, that will help the chair to manage the House. So please, let's bear in mind that we are here to do government business and to work for Ghana. So let's help each other so that once we come here, you'll be able to progress whatever is ahead of us. But before I will invite any member to speak, kindly allow me to allow me to turn you to page 2. Page 2 of today's order paper, item listed 4. Honorable members, page 2, item listed 4. Message from the President. We have received a message from the Presidency, of which message I'm going to read to the House. Nomination of ministers for parliamentary approval. In accordance with Article 78(1) and 2561 of the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, 1992, I submit through you, Mr. Speaker, to Parliament for your prior approval the names of persons attached hereto I intend to appoint as ministers. The nominees' credentials and records of service demonstrate their competence to support the government's agenda and serve the people of Ghana effectively. Attached are their curriculum vitae and supporting documents for vetting. I trust that Parliament will expedite the approval process in accordance with constitutional requirements. Accept, Mr. Speaker, the assurance of my highest consideration. Signed, John Dramani Mahama, the President of the Republic of Ghana. And it was addressed to the Speaker of Parliament, and the names are regional ministers: Posing Charles Ruanga for Upper West Region, Joseph Ade Akwaboa for Bono Region, Francis Owusu Entry for Bono East Region. For the Ministers of States, we have Dr. Adrian Kofi Omane Boama for Ministry of Defense, Honorable Samuel Nati George, MP, for Ministry of Communication, Digital Technology and Innovations. Honorable Emmanuel Ama Kufibua, MP, Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. Honorable Kofi Idie Adams, MP, Ministry of Sports and Recreation. Honorable Abdul Rashid H. Pelpo, MP, Ministry of Labor, Jobs and Employment. Honorable Kwabna Minta Akando, MP, Ministry of Health. Honorable Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed, MP, Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology. Honorable Joseph Bukali Nipe, MP, Ministry of Transport. Honorable Muntaka Mohammed Mubarak, MP, Ministry of Interior. Honorable Samuel Okujeto Abrakwa, MP, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Mr. to the appointment committee for consideration and report. Yes, Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we appreciate the step taken by you to bring to the attention of the House this communication from His Excellency the President, particularly so when same was signed by him. We note that quite a number of the appointees, the nominees, are from Parliament, and we therefore appreciate the work of this chamber. On our side, we want to signal the government that we treat the nominees on case-by-case basis. Those who disrespect rule of law and encourage violence, we will have to make a case for them to know that violence cannot be used to enjoy democracy. Mr. Speaker, we are also disappointed in the choice of the president. There are a lot of women on his side. We've had over 30 women being elected to Parliament from the NDC majority side. In view of the affirmative action posture of the country, we have passed the affirmative action law, and of all these hard-working women, only a few of them have so far been given substantive ministerial appointments. Is it the case that they are matching them for deputy ministerial appointments? That is not right. Our women cannot be second-class appointees. Mr. President must demonstrate his belief in the capacity, the capability, and the competences of our women. And he must demonstrate that. The Nana Akufo-Addo government demonstrated that women have equal capacity as men, and he demonstrated that. He did that in all his appointments, and the records are out there for all to see. Mr. Speaker, this is Greater Accra. This is Greater Accra. A government should have a representation of all shades of opinion. All stakeholders must find space in a government. In this government, we are not seeing indigenous guns in this government. Yes, we are not seeing. We are not seeing sufficient indigenous gun adangways in this government.
Leader, hold on.
Oh, very well, Mr. Speaker. On point of order.
Yeah.
Okay.
Speaker,
Yes.
arise on a point of order that the leader the minority leader. I'm an authority on the rules of parliament. Mr.
Okay,
Speaker,
Honorable
Mr. Speaker,
Honorable
Mr. Speaker,
if you are the authority, then give us the order.
Mr. Speaker, with all due respect.
I was just overlooking
with all due respect.
what this side was saying. But if you say
Mr.
you
Speaker,
are...
I rise on a point of order in terms of misinformation.
No, the point
Mr.
is...
Speaker,
the point is...
Mr. Speaker,
Nelson.
On the matter
Nelson.
On the matter, Mr. Speaker...
Honorable Nelson.
Mr. Speaker, on the matter that the minority leader is taking, it's a very dangerous one.
Honorable leader.
You rise and you speak about tribalism.
Honorable Speaker. Honorable Dafemopo, please. I said earlier on, Honorable Dafemopo, I said earlier on that it is the leadership that will help the chair to manage the House. So if you are speaking and I want you to hold on and you didn't listen to me, then I find it a bit problematic. Because a minority that was speaking, you rose up, I just saw you, I asked him to stop. So if you're also speaking, and for whatever reason I'm asking you to hold on, you should also respect the chair. Anyway, so you conclude.
Speaker, with all due respect to the minority leader, the tangent that he's taking is very dangerous. The minority leader, the tangent he's taking is very dangerous for the cohesion of this nation. The president has not exhausted his appointments. The president has the executive authority to make over 7,000 appointments. Over 7,000 appointments. We run an executive president in this country, and guns will continue to occupy a very important and enviable position in this government. So the claim that is made on this floor, this hallowed floor, he must withdraw it, Mr. Speaker. Number one, he will withdraw. He will withdraw because there's no basis for putting out such an information. Mr. Speaker, you must urge it upon the minority leader to withdraw that comment. Yes. Mr. Speaker, second, Mr. Speaker, the business before us. Before you decided to invoke item number 1 on the order paper to, as it were, read the communication from the presidency to the House, was for us to conclude the debate on the motion that's been ably moved by the chairperson of the Appointments Committee, the first deputy speaker, and seconded. We have agreed on the number of persons who will contribute towards the debate. So, Mr. Speaker, may I urge you that we conclude that business. Because as you speak, that business is in abeyance. Let's conclude that business. Then the minority leader can have his say and whatever it is on this matter. Then we can bring finality. But may I urge you, may I plead with you that we conclude the business in respect of the motion that is presently pending before the House. I humbly submit. Thank you very much.
Well. Yes. Honorable minority leader, I still keep on. No. I want Honorable Afenyo to be on his feet. I want him to conclude what he was saying so that we... No, Honorable Afenyo... Honorable members, the House is run procedurally. He was speaking, somebody came on point of order. So after the point of order, I have to remember
Speaker, with respect, if you may endure, Speaker, if for nothing at all, I'm in leadership. And in this House, the convention and practice has been that when any of us in leadership rises, I think we'll listen to the person. Will you listen to me?
yes, I want the majority. I will listen to you, but I want a minority leader to conclude what he was saying. Then,
if he concludes, what I'm going to say will be mute. I want to respond to some of the things Honorable Dafemi spoke to. Speaker, I thank you. I thank you for your patience. First of all, I want my colleague, who I know eventually will come into leadership, to appreciate one fact. It's a marathon. 4 years, you are going to be in leadership for a marathon period. You should hasten slowly. Yeah, this temptation of my colleague suddenly getting angry. So listen. He suddenly gets angry, he gets into a certain mood. It's inappropriate. First of all, you made a point which, Honorable Dafemi, it was totally inappropriate to say that I am an authority on the rules. The interpretation of the orders lies in the motion of the Speaker, not you. You cannot be an authority when it comes to the interpretation of the rules. That is wrong. Speaker, so he should get that correctly put out. Again, if I were you, when the leader was speaking, I would rather be taking note. You've made very important points. You are not listening. Take note and transmit same to His Excellency the President. They are conspicuously missing our guns. Is that not a fact? We don't have guns in the appointment so far. How many airways are there featuring in the appointment names that are put out so far? You should take note and communicate same to His Excellency the President to make amends. Don't show aggression. Well, you can decide to defend it, but so far the names that have come out, Mr. Speaker, the minority leader couldn't have captured it better. He said guns are conspicuously missing. What is your defense to that? Airways are conspicuously missing. The Constitution makes provision for regional balance in such appointment. You should know this. You know this. And so, our advice to them, you are, and besides the point, Speaker, is he available leader or is the whip? I don't know which is which. Is he the available leader or is the majority whip? You should rather take a cue and communicate same to His Excellency the President. Honorable, what's the Madina? Sit down. Sit down. He is obviously seeking attention for His Excellency the President to see you. You have lost out in the selection. What do you want to say? You have lost out. Sit down. You have lost out. The names are out. The guys have lost out. The airways have lost out. You should be communicating this with His Excellency the President, not defending it. What are you going to say? Stop defending it. It's wrong.
Honorable members, we can take things lightly. At times, if you are not careful, you can also instigate certain actions. I think it is the prerogative of the president to nominate ASAE. And I know the Constitution also enjoins him to at least be guided with regional balance. I believe he might be doing that. I have personally not checked with the names, but if minority leader sees, you have checked. So, honorable member, let me finish so that we can go to the substantive matter. Because these are all, let's minority leader finishes so that we can go to the substantive matter of the second appointment committee's report. Please, minority leader, please finish it up for us.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, I shall refer my colleagues to Article 35 5B. 6B of the Constitution, 35(6)B. Quotes, towards the achievement of the objectives stated in Clause 5 of this article, the state shall take appropriate measures to achieve reasonable regional and gender balance in recruitment and appointment of public officers. The state and its government is headed by the president, who alone has executive powers of state. If you read Article 58 of the Constitution, Mr. Speaker, for the avoidance of doubt, Article 58 of the Constitution provides the executive authority of Ghana shall vest in the president and shall be exercised in accordance with the provisions of this Constitution. So I agree with you that Mr. President has the prerogative, but that prerogative, as you again said, must be exercised within the ambit of the Constitution, and that is provided for by Article 35(6)B. Mr. Speaker, my observation is well-founded. So far, we have had chief executive appointments. These chief executive appointments to state-owned institutions have no regional balance. These appointments have no regional balance. The appointment to ministerial office thus far cannot be said to have a fair representation. I've already argued the gender imbalance. I've already made that argument. I will not go there. We have Western region. We have Central region. We have Greater Accra, which is predominantly made up of Gans and Adanges. We have Volta region, generally made up of Evers and Loss. How many of them are being appointed into this government? We have Oti region. How many from Oti are getting the opportunity? Mr. Speaker, if you go to Upper West, Northeast, Mr. Speaker, in the Northeast, they are predominantly Mapuches. Yes, it's a fact. Yes, it's a fact. Are we seeing a representation of them? This is a constitutional requirement. It is in the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, all we are saying is, Mr. President, check the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, maybe I should walk my colleagues through memory lane. When President Kufuor, listen, please, colleagues, we are not just talking. When President Kufuor was in office, I recall, was it his first term or second term? Mr. Speaker, in his first term, it got to a point during the appointment, somebody asked President Kufuor about this same matter, and he said, oh, he's made an appointment to Upper East Regional Minister. He said, no, in your cabinet, at least there should be a representation from all corners of the country. Upper West, very well, thank you. Mr. President, at the time, therefore, made sure that somebody was appointed to fill a Minister of State.
Kasim Kasanga.
Very well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Professor Kasim Kasanga, therefore, came in to fill the Lands Ministry
Our friends should listen. You have come into government. Any useful comment you oppose, you are behaving as though you are in opposition. Please listen to us. At least when you made that first mistake of letting a secretary to president write to us, and we corrected. Now today, Mr. President himself is writing. Mr. Speaker, I would plead with my colleagues that when we make comments, they should convey to the presidency. Honorable Afemeko is now telling us that Mr. President has up to 7,000 appointees to appoint. He says Mr. President has 7,000. Really? So it is no more 60 appointees. Now you are saying, you are telling us that 7,000. So you are going to appoint 7,000
Honorable leader,
soldiers.
Thank you.
No, Mr. Speaker, let me conclude. He is now saying that we should wait. Early days here. The president is going to appoint 7,000 people. So that we are going to have 7,000 appointees. That is what you are telling us. Mr. Speaker, if that is true, then we'll wait. We'll wait for the 7,000 appointees to come, and then we'll now assess them on whether or not there is a true balance. Because I am looking forward to seeing Ewes, Gan Adangwes.
Thank you, leader.
Looking forward to seeing more Kusasis and Mampushis, Gonjes, Dagobas in this government. I want to see more of them. We don't want one-way appointment.
Thank you, leader.
It should be constitutional. Thank you so much, sir.
Well. Let me give you to Comfort. Do you?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker,
let's do the motion.
We have government business to do, but I will respond to this gender and Gadangme issue. Because when it comes to gender, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is the best that you can clap for. Because when he was starting, he started with a woman as his vice president. And the woman is there to fight for women and hold the door for women to pass through. Mr. Speaker, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama promised 60 ministers, and he's supposed to take 50% of the ministers from this chamber.
More than 50%.
More than 50% from this chamber. Yes. And we have 16 regions. So if even one region is giving two, it will be 32. So if every region is giving 2, and he has given Greater Accra 2, he has not finished with his appointment yet. What is the big deal? Because Honorable Sam George is Dange. Honorable Namomo is a Gan. Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama lives in a Gan land, and he gives that respect to the Gans and appreciates the vote he got in the Gan land. And he's going to do the needful. So please, the Wufias, Mr. Speaker, let me tell you this story. When a woman is disappointed in his husband, you see that he assumes talking, every day talking, what is not even necessary to argue about, the woman will be arguing. And this is exactly what is happening to the MPP. This is exactly what is happening to the MPP. Please allow government business to flow.
Thank you.
We have the second batch of the nominees to appoint.
Thank you.
The motion has been moved. Mr. Speaker, move straight to the debate. 2 year, 2 year, one leader, making 3. Finish. So that President Mahama will get the right people to manage this economy for us. We are ready to reset Ghana. And we are in a hurry to save Ghana from the mess they created. So their plenty talk will not do us anything but sabotage the work of government business. We are pleading with them. They have already exhausted their time, and Ghanaians are not happy, and they voted for us to come and work. So they should allow us to work. Mr. Speaker, second issue. Any first deputy speaker, second deputy speaker, we carry them along in this chamber. Mr. First Deputy Speaker, who is Honorable Ahiafo, has been in this house for the past 12 years, has helped the MPP government with their laws, their bills, and he has done a lot to support them. And all this while, we have been carrying all their first deputy, second deputy speakers along. If he has been well trained and respect each and everyone in this chamber, doesn't mean we should take his respectful for granted. Mr. Speaker, they should respect his leadership. They should respect his leadership. Today, I'm not happy at all because ever since he became the first deputy speaker, all their plans is they will take advantage of his respectfulness, and then yes, that's exactly what they are doing. If he has been well trained, doesn't mean they should take advantage of that and disrespect him. That's what I think. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Leader, I think the first deputy speaker is fortified enough to go through this. It's part
Mr.
of
Speaker, they should stop the harassing him. They always want to harass him. They should stop it.
The harassment is for all of us.
Will not take it.
So,
they should stop it because it will turn to another thing. They should stop it. The man is a very, very respectful person in this chamber.
Honorable Comfort, do you? Like I'm saying, Honorable Bernard Ahiafo, he has what it takes to go through this. So, I mean, he's fortified enough to, so, I mean, let's take this as part of the game. Yes, Honorable Member for Asante Achem Central.
Mr. Speaker, I'm grateful. Mr. Speaker said that I rise to ask from the chair for direction, Mr. Speaker. I know there was communication from the president, and the leader got up to make a comment on that. So, Speaker, I'm realizing that we are doing a debate on this, and I'll be very grateful if the chair will direct where we are. This should not generate into a heated debate, and I think comment that was made should not be, and in my view, should not be a harmful comment, and it wasn't harmful indeed. And it has generated into a debate, which should not be. So, Mr. Speaker, it's about time that we curtail this and move on. There are other things that we have to do, and I'll be grateful if we can proceed and end this debate. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Honorable members, I think Honorable Ahmed Dukulu has said the right thing. So we are moving on. Let's turn to page 3, item 12. Item 12, motion by the chairman of the committee.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much for the opportunity to move the item numbered 12 at page 3 of today's order paper, that notwithstanding the provision of our own Standing Order 1041, which requires that a motion shall not be debated until at least 2 sitting days have elapsed after the notice to move the motion is given. The motion for the adoption of the second report of the Appointment Committee on His Excellency the President's nomination for appointment as ministers may be now moved. Mr. Speaker, I so moved.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, motion 12 has been moved. Any seconder? Yes, the minority leader.
Speaker, I beg to second the motion.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, motion 12 is procedural, so I'll go ahead to put the question. All those in favor that motion listed 12 be adopted, say aye. All those against, say no. Honorable members, the ayes have it. The motion is hereby adopted. Now let's take the substantive motion 13.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I rise to move the motion number 13 at page 3 of today's order paper, that this House adopts the second report of the Appointment Committee on His Excellency the President's nomination for appointment as ministers. And Mr. Speaker, in doing so, I present the committee's report. Right, Honorable Speaker, the President's nomination of Honorable Governors Kwame Agboja as a Minister for Roads and Highways, Honorable Haruna Edusuru, Minister responsible for Education, Honorable Eric Opoku, was referred to the committee responsible for appointment. Mr. Speaker, the committee, after due deliberations and vetting of the respective minister designates, present this particular report to the House for consideration. And Mr. Speaker, I urge the House to adopt the report after further urging the Hansard Department to capture the entire report as having been read by me. Mr. Speaker, I then proceed to look at paragraph 7.0 of the report, that is the conclusion. Mr. Speaker, the committee, in accordance of the provisions of Article 78(1) of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana and Standing Order 217, deliberated on the 3 ministerial nominations made by His Excellency the President of the Republic of Ghana. The nominees exhibited competence, extensive knowledge, and exceptional skills in addressing matters relevant to their respective ministries. The committee therefore recommends to the House by consensus, Mr. Speaker, consensus, unanimity, the adoption of its report and the approval of Honorable Kwame Governors Agboja as the Minister responsible for roads and highways. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Kwame Governors Agboja currently is the Majority Chief Whip. Mr. Speaker, we further recommend for adoption by the House Honorable Haruna Idrisu as minister responsible for education. He was the former minority leader. And Mr. Speaker, finally, we recommend that the House approve Honorable Eriko Poku, who has been a long-standing ranking member on food and agriculture. Mr. Speaker, respectfully submitted. I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, the motion has been moved and it's now for secondment. Yes. Honorable Member for Futu and the minority leader.
Mr. Speaker, on this rising, I am to second the motion, and I'm doing so. I want to make some few observations. First, to commend the chair of the committee for his industry in seeing to it that we conduct this exercise. Mr. Speaker, the report of the committee is a 7-paragraph report with unnumbered pages. I shall start first with Honorable Haruna Idrisu. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Haruna Idrisu, an experienced member of the House, distinguished himself during the vetting process. But outside of the House, had some issues regarding some key policy commitments of the NDC in its manifesto. Mr. Speaker, the NDC in its manifesto made a commitment to Ghanaians that it was going to ensure free first-year tuition for our children going to the tertiary. So in other words, parents, upon hearing this, voted for them, thinking that if the NDC should assume office, the first year fees will be paid. Is this NDC government telling Ghanaians that there is a voice for taking vote and another voice for governing? That when they campaign, they say one thing, and when they govern, they say another? Mr. Speaker, what I was expecting the respected Honorable Haruna Idrisu to tell us was that the government was going to call for the total enrollment and order the universities not to levy the students or waive it, and government was going to reimburse the universities. What are we hearing? What are we hearing? That the parents should go and look for money and pay and apply for refund. Let it be heard here and now. We don't trust your government to do refund. This was the answer given to us during the hearing. The Honorable Haruna Idrisu said that students will receive refund when they apply. Mr. Speaker,
Leader.
Oh, is that the path we are going to go?
I don't know.
Mr. Speaker, is that the path he has moved? I'm seconding
is that the path we are going to go? Mr. Speaker, if you entertain this thing would degenerate. Mr. Speaker, he has moved his motion. Mr. Speaker, he has moved his motion as an opportunity. Why not?
Coming.
All right.
Honorable First Deputy Speaker.
Okay.
You move the motion. Please, let's indulge him so that, because we have to move. So, leader, move on.
They so think they are in opposition, where everything they will get up and react. Please, Bojidi, patience. Mr. Speaker, we expected this government to have issued a directive to the universities that don't charge fees. Parents, poor parents, have gone for loans to pay school fees. Poor parents are struggling. Some people have their admission letters. There is no money. They cannot go. And you are telling them that you should pay, so we refund. What of those who will not get the means to go? What you are saying is that if they don't go, you won't pay. Mr. Speaker, is this another form of matricle policy? Mr. Speaker, this is unacceptable. If the NDC government means business, that it is committed to a social intervention program, such as providing free tuition for first-year students, it should do so. And now, Mr. Speaker, the records of Hansard, will testify that when the Akufo-Addo government came into office, free SHS policy was not deferred. Indeed, it was implemented there and now, the very academic year. Mr. Speaker, the very academic year. Mr. Speaker, the government of Akufo-Addo did not defer the implementation of free SHS. In spite of the doubts on the policy, the government implemented free SHS in the first academic year that the NPP assumed office. Clearly, the MDC has no such commitment. It is obvious that they misled the people of Ghana into believing that they would enjoy free tuition at the tertiary level for the first year. Mr. Speaker, what is happening is shameful. Parents are in pain. Parents are suffering. Parents feel misled. The university, Mr. Speaker, the university academic year started in January. If you don't know, I'm telling you, there's a university in my constituency. In January, the SSC result, the WASI result, came out in December. Students bought admission forms, relying on your first year free tuition policy. They bought the forms. Mr. Speaker, I want this government to conduct a survey in all the universities, all the tertiary institutions. Mr. Speaker, very few students who got admission have so far made it. Very few, because parents cannot afford. Because parents cannot pay. And instead of just taking the records, all you need to do, Mr. Speaker, all that the government needs to do is to go to all the universities, all the tertiary institutions, take the records of all those who gain admission, and give a directive
that allow them in and we will reimburse you. Why do you tell them that students should pay and that you are going to refund? Mr. Speaker, what it means practically is that those who are unable to pay, they cannot attend the university. They will stay at home so that they will add up to the unemployment burden, and then these same people eventually will have no hope and they may get involved in some thuggery in the country. Mr. Speaker, I want the Minister of Education designate to take immediate steps upon assumption of office to issue a directive to all the tertiary institutions to forward the total enrollment to his office for reimbursement. That would be a true commitment that he is walking the talk. We will hold your feet to the fire. You think you just campaign, so you've gotten it on a silver platter. You will see. You say we are micro minority. You will see. You will see. With time, Ghanaians will see your true colors, and all of us will see your true colors. You will not have it free. We are going to ensure that we follow every single promise made. When you are on the campaign platform, promise it, promise it. Today, you are in government. Mr. Speaker, the second point is feeding at our secondary schools. President John Dramani Mahama promised and said was scripted in their manifesto to the effect that they were now going to release money to the head teachers to buy the food items. We are looking forward to that. The nominee gave some answers. We don't want to see anything less. The president said the issue about buffer stock, purchasing food items and distributing them to our schools, that policy was not helpful. So he would give the money directly so that they can buy the agbelema, they can buy the gari, they can buy the tuna and all. So, Honorable Education Minister nominee, if they swear you in tonight, tomorrow we expect you to be at the Ministry of Education. And we expect you again to implement this policy. No bend, no curve. You cannot move backwards on this matter. The head teachers are expectant. And then also, Mr. Speaker, the nominee promised that the many day schools will be converted into boarding facilities. He committed to that. We expect that you immediately take steps to address all of this. Mr. Speaker, that is that for the Education Minister. I shall now move on to my respected colleague, Kwame Agboja, Governs. Mr. Speaker, Governs Kwame Agboja told the whole country, and this morning I saw that graphic had captured him on a good front page about the indebtedness at the road sector. What Kwame failed to tell Ghanaians was that yes, there was indebtedness, but many more roads have been constructed. What he failed to tell Ghanaians was that the Akufo-Addo government made sure that many roads, especially the Eastern Corridor Road, which was abandoned today travel within the city of Accra, Greater Accra. All of us, we are here in this city. We know how it is to travel, to drive through Greater Accra. We know. La Beach Road was initiated by the Kufuor government. It was initiated, honorable member for La, respectfully. Let me debate. If for some reason our administration could not complete, we expect Mr. Agboja to take immediate steps. We want the La Beach Road to be constructed, and we are waiting for it. Mr. Speaker, we expect them to find the money to pay the main road constructors who have done government work. We do not want excuses. We don't want them to create MPP contractors and NDC contractors. We don't want discrimination. We expect them to do what is right in the road sector. And we are waiting on them on this issue of road tolls. They say that they are going to do digitalization. We were of the opinion that they will lessen the burden on Ghanaians when it comes to levies and taxes, because they are committed to it. Now you are going to impose another levy. So, Mr. Speaker, when they remove the e-levy, they are going to look for the money on road tolls. So the value is the same. They claim that they are going to repeal the e-levy law and introduce road toll and even charge more. That is the conflict you are interested in. You are not committed to relieving the Ghanaians of the burden you claim was on the ordinary Ghanaian. I want you, if you indeed committed to the ordinary Ghanaian, don't introduce any road toll. Don't. Kwame Agboja told us that they are going to introduce road tolls. They are going to introduce more levies. They are going to levy the ordinary Ghanaian more. So you take one out, introduce 2 more. You take one out, introduce 10 more. Mr. Speaker, that is not acceptable. For Honorable Kopoku, Mr. Speaker, I shall conclude on him. He has said so many things about the agro sector. It is one thing being outside, and another thing when you have control. We are looking forward to he implementing all the policies in the agro sector. His records are there. All that he said during the vetting, Hansard has captured. From time to time, he will be asked questions. The commitment he made to the vegetable farmers, the commitment he made to the farmers, poultry farmers, the land tenure system that he says, he's going to introduce something new. We are waiting. We wish him well. We really wish him well. But he should walk the talk. Mr. Speaker, this said, and without more, I shall rest my case and second this motion to enable this House debate and approve these nominees who, by the report, we have already agreed that it be taken by consensus. Mr. Speaker, thank you so much.
Honorable members, the motion has been moved. The motion has been seconded. It is now before the House for consideration. But honorable members, irrespective of the time the mover and especially the seconder has taken, I want to regulate the rest of the time. Please indulge me. I wouldn't allow members to go beyond 5 minutes. So I'm giving 4 to each side
Mr. Speaker, I don't want surprises. Mr. Speaker, I don't want surprises. We've agreed 5-5, nothing will change. With the greatest respect, if we do that, it helps all of us. We agreed 5-5 in conclave. Let's go by it. Nothing will change.
Well. Please, don't worry. Don't worry. I'll take it. 5-5. But nobody should speak more than 5 minutes. Please indulge me. Because I understand the appointment committee, you have a nominee to even. So please, 5-5. 5 minutes. So let me have the list so that I will start from Honorable Member for Boko Central. Please, 5 minutes. Help me so that we all work around this.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to speak in support of adopting the report of the committee in respect of the nomination by Honorable Kwame Governor Saguja for the Ministry of Roads and Highways, and Honorable Haruna Idrisu for Ministry of Education, and Honorable Eric Opoku, Ministry of Roads and Agriculture. Mr. Speaker, we're all aware that these are all colleagues who have been with us in this Parliament and by the constitutional provisions are definitely qualified for the nomination to the various posts to which they have been designated. Mr. Speaker, a lot has been said about the nominees. And in seconding the motion, the Honorable Minority Leader, who appears to have studied the manifesto of the NDC inside out, and who appears to have fallen in love with the manifesto and the promises of the NDC. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, as I listened to him, I'm wondering whether he didn't vote for the NDC. Mr. Speaker, he shows so much love for the promises that we made. And every day he commits himself and promises that he's going to ensure that the promises we made to the people are implemented. If he doesn't believe in those promises, I don't see why he is that committed to the implementation of those promises. So, Mr. Speaker, I am happy to observe that the minority leader has fallen in love with the promises made by the NDC. Let me assure him that we have started implementing the promises. I can tell him on authority that the President John Dramani Mahama has already transferred over 101 million cedis to the secondary schools to deal with the purchases that he's talking about. I can show you evidence. I can show you evidence of the transfer. I can show you evidence of the transfer. That His Excellency the President is dealing with the issues in secondary schools. He has directed that food that we had purchased to deal with some other problem, but because of the emergency involving secondary education, he has directed that the rice and the maize be distributed to them. So the schools don't have a problem with food. They have enough food. And then in addition to distributing the food to the secondary schools, he has made direct transfers to secondary schools so that they can purchase ingredients that they need to provide food for the students. So we have started implementing the promises because we are people who keep to our promises. Just as we promised a lean government, and we are clearly implementing a lean government. We are promising equity in the distribution of appointments, and we are implementing equity in the distribution of appointments.
Thank you. Begin to wind up for me.
So, Mr. Speaker, we are not reneging on any of our promises. The Minister Designate for Education is needed at post to deal with the problem of the payment of fees by first-year tertiary education students. So if you approve him and he gets to office, he will definitely deal with this particular issue, which is clearly a commitment that we have made in our manifesto. So, Mr. Speaker, on that note, I urge colleagues to adopt the report so that we can give approval to the President to swear in these ministers so that they can hurriedly address the question of the payment of first university fees. So, right honorable
Abuja is a distinguished member of this House. From the very beginning, there are many things that he brought out that he was going to do. And I think it's a question of monitoring to make sure the promises made will be promises kept. Mr. Speaker, moving on to education, the minister designate said many things, of course, outlined his party's manifesto and pledging that the manifesto commitments will be delivered. Mr. Speaker, the issue of the fees for tertiary students, I think we've heard a lot about it. Look forward to a situation where universities will at least be encouraged to allow those students who applied to them with a hope that they will not have to pay the fees for the first year. Allow them to come in and not sit at home, because if they don't, they're going to lose their spot. And I think if this commitment is there, it's much, much easier on the parents if the government was to speak to the universities, asking them to give them grace and allow them to enter, and that their fees will be paid. I think it's a better option than closing admissions, shutting the door in the faces of those who thought it was going to be free and therefore applied, and telling them that go and look for money, and if you can look for money to pay, then we'll reimburse you and reimburse your parent. Mr. Speaker, in many, reading the manifesto of the NDC, private schools participation in free secondary education, I'm waiting to see the fine details. Waiting to see the fine details as to how you abolish double track and keep the SEC going. Abolish double track right now. All first-year students of pre-sec will have to be sent back home. First-year students of Pokuwari will have to go back home. So I'm looking forward to the details of the proposal. But Mr. Speaker, having said all that, I have confidence in the expertise and the policy grasp of the minister designate. And I hope they will be able to implement all the policies that ensure that we continue to march forward in the area of education. So much has been done, and I would hate to see us take a step back instead of taking a step forward. So I look forward and expect that public school transformation will continue, that the middle class of Ghana, who are working so hard to find money to pay the fees of their children in private schools, that burden will be eased by creating quality public schools. We began a journey, and I hope that journey will be continued for the benefit of Ghanaians, to ensure that in our villages, leaking roofs will be replaced, and that will be able to create better learning environment for all children. We need to have a Ghana where both from deprived means and advantaged means
Honorable Member, you should begin
get the
to wind up.
opportunity for quality education. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. So let's turn to Honorable Eric Edemabana.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the second report of the Appointments Committee on His Excellency President's nominations of the three senior members of this House for the various ministerial positions. I would want to respectfully begin with the Minister Designate for Roads and Highways. The Honorable Kwame Gavins Abuja, at the vetting yesterday, discharged himself excellently and displayed mastery over the sector. We are confident that given the opportunity as Minister responsible for roads and highways, Ghana's roads infrastructure will see some massive improvement. However, Mr. Speaker, it was quite alarming yesterday to learn that the previous government that boasted of constructing about 11,000 kilometers of roads in 8 years, all of that was nothing. No. Leader. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, it is important.
Honorable Eric Edem, I have the floor.
Mr. Speaker, I would humbly plead with the minority leader to kindly allow me to continue. Mr. Speaker, the previous government made several claims about road infrastructure and the road networks that they constructed. But at the vetting yesterday, it was revealed that less than 700 kilometers of roads were actually constructed. And I think it is important for us to place these matters on record. I am confident that the Honorable Minister Designate, who was a very active ranking member on the sector in the previous parliament, will be able to discharge his duties very well and ensure that all the road infrastructure that we promised the good people of Ghana, President Mohamed's government will see to these roads being constructed, especially the road from Denu to Ho, which also passes through my constituency and also passes through the constituency of the Minister Designate. I would want to plead with him to make that road a top priority in his ambitions for the sector. The second nominee happens to be the Honorable Haruna Idrisu, who has been a mentor and a big brother since his days as a student leader. He was National Youth Organizer of the NDC, and since his coming into this August House, we can all bear testimony to the fact that he is an excellent legislator, and all the time that he has held ministerial positions, we have seen how he discharges his duties effectively. I am confident that under his leadership as Minister for Education, the sector will see some real growth and improvement. Mr. Speaker, currently, the education sector is one of the most challenged in this country. As we speak today, one of the things that is of great concern to me as a young person and as the MP for a constituency that can be described as a rural constituency is the fact that there exists a huge gap between rural education and education in the urban centers. Mr. Speaker, I look forward to a day where children schooling in Gbegbekopo Junior High School can make the same grades as children schooling in public schools here in Accra. I look forward to Honorable Haruna Idrisu leading the ministry to bridge that gap, especially, Mr. Speaker, learning that since 1992, he is the first Minister for Education from the northern sector. I believe that should serve as a motivation for us to do our best to bridge that gap. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, in my concluding remarks, with regard to the Minister Designate for Agriculture, we all know the Honorable Eric Opoku. He has become not only an authority, but an institution on issues of agriculture. And he displayed that yesterday before the appointments committee. I believe that the agriculture sector will see some steady growth under his leadership. Mr. Speaker, the three nominees, I believe, constitute what we can properly describe as a solid team to move this country forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me now turn to Honorable Reverend Hitim Fojo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support the motion that this House adopts the second report of the Appointments Committee. And in so doing, to congratulate all the nominees. I have every confidence in their ability to deliver, and they can rest assured on our support. In respect of the nominee for the Agri Ministry, it is our expectation that he will keep true to his commitment, that all the brilliant initiatives that he enumerated to the committee will actually translate to the reduction in food inflation. We are also expecting to see how he is going to not renege on his advocacy when he was very vociferous on the other side of the aisle when he was the ranking for our great committee on the promise that if they were in power, they would have offered the cocoa farmer 6,000 cedis per bag instead of the 3,100 cedis per bag that our previous government offered our farmers. I wish him well in his endeavors. In respect of Honorable Kwame Abuja, he articulated a lot of competence and demonstrated his knowledge and experience in the built environment, and we are hopeful that he will translate those experiences into the new portfolio that he's been appointed to. However, his commitment that even though their government is going to initiate a new project, they will remain true to the continuation of the massive road infrastructure and the road construction project initiated by President Akufo-Addo. We are going to watch closely to see that we are not going to see a cancellation of projects, we are not going to see suspension of road projects, and that those massive routes, which all of us across the length and breadth of this country pass on, will be continued to improve our infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, in respect of Honorable Harun Idrisu, it is my expectation that he will leverage on his expertise and the mark that he made when he previously served as Minister for Communications, even at age 39, subsequently also to the Ministry of Trade and Industry and Employment and Labor Relations, to navigate around the complexities of education ministry. I have every confidence in his ability to succeed. But on page 20 of the report, Mr. Speaker, for the first time, we see the nominee acknowledging the monumental policy and the vision of President Akufo-Addo, and noting that free SHS is one of the boldest steps in transforming education. Mr. Speaker, and I read, the nominee acknowledged that free SHS remains one of the boldest steps in transforming education in this country. I'm very excited that we have come to a point where free SHS that is touted as a visionary policy that ensures that a child of a watchman in a big corporation gets the opportunity to sit in the same classroom with a daughter of the CEO, and both have an opportunity for a brighter way of contributing to socio-economic pursuits. But on page 21, when the nominee was asked about his position on curriculum and pedagogy reform, he assured that at all levels of our education system, curriculum and pedagogy will be reformed to meet the aspirations of this country. Mr. Speaker, let me be quick to draw the attention of the table office to correct an error on page 21, paragraph 5.4. The spelling of pedagogy is not as has been captured. It actually ends with Y, not UE. Pedagogy does not end with UE, it ends with Y. And having noted that correction, we hope to see
how Honorable Haruna Drisu will come to sustain the gains we have made in education outcomes, to continue the sterling legacies left by Honorable Dr. Yosef Duchum and Honorable Matthew Poku Prempeh, to ensure we do not go back to the era where in 2015 only 2% of our peoples in this country had the ability to read, but rather we will improve from the 38% as of 2022, the outcome of the National Standardized Test, to a point where minimum 90% of our learners will be able to read. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I thank you too. So it is now the turn of Honorable Lydia Lamisi Akanvaliba. But Lydia, hold on. Give me 5 minutes.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.